What's up, fellow marijuana enthusiasts? This is Boris, yet again, your admin in the group. I'm going to try to do this video. I'm just setting up the camera a little bit, smoking a cigarette. I know cigarettes are very bad for you. It's my only bad vice. So, I've been making a lot of these videos. I'm happy with the amount of membership we have in the group. I'm going to continue to try to get our group to have a lot of members and grow our group to show Long Island, the politicians, the media, the newspapers, and the public that we are hundreds of thousands of us here that want to be able to smoke without being harassed, without being hassled, whether it be by the public or law enforcement. But besides that, why did I want to make this video today? So this Saturday, there is going to be a Blue Lives Matter rally in Eisenhower Park, where I'm sure there's going to be a lot of police officers there. There's going to be a lot of political people there. Anthony De-Escalation, who is a Republican, probably anti-pot. He's an ex-cop. He's going to be there. But on top of him, who's going to be there as an elected official supporting this Blue Lives Matter rally, there's also going to be this guy, Ted Nugent. You know, he's a little bit of a rocker, but just like me, he's really not that good of a musician. I respect people like George Harrison, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, the classics, Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, Metallica. Like, these people, these are musicians. Ted Nugent, it is what it is. He's a folk, country rocker. But the thing is, he said some very, very controversial things in the past. He has referenced black people as mongrels. He has said a lot of negative things towards African Americans, towards other minorities. And he is a white supremacist through and through. And he's going to be at this rally in Eisenhower Park. So at the same time, there's going to be a counter protest there as well. I'm not sure whether I'm going to go yet or not on behalf of the group. But because this group is open to Republicans, Democrats, people who support the police, people who don't. But what I could do in my capacity is sort of give my perspective on the things that have been going on in the country, but specifically how it has inflamed civil tensions in this country, in the country, but specifically in Long Island. So, we've been having tons of rallies happening, Black Lives Matter rallies, Blue Lives Matter rallies. There's a lot of civil unrest happening in Long Island. And it all started when a police officer in Minnesota, in Minneapolis or something, his name was Derek Chauvin, he thought it was appropriate to place his knee on the neck of George Floyd and not listen to his pleas for help that he can't breathe, and he killed him. So this is why these tensions have started to be inflamed in our society. So, one side believes, I think all sides should believe, that police officers are not there to kill people. They're not there to harm suspects and criminals. They're there to help bring them to justice. And how do they do that? They're supposed to arrest them, take them to jail, take them to court, and that's the process of what police officers in our county, in our country, are supposed to do. They're not supposed to take their knees and place them on people's necks. So, how does Long Island for marijuana legalization intersect with this issue? So, people who have smoked marijuana, oftentimes minorities, but everybody smokes. Whether you're Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, communist, libertarian, whatever you may be, there's so many people who smoke pot. So marijuana is an issue that crosses party lines, as I said in the previous video. But the thing is, when it comes to enforcement of marijuana and the history of enforcement of marijuana laws, it has oftentimes taken a racialized tact. It's become racialized because what oftentimes we have seen is that while white people were often let go of, hi Marianne, how are you? While white people were often let go, like for example, when I was younger, me and my friends, we smoked pot on the streets, we smoked pot in cars, we smoked pot in houses and parks and playgrounds. This is what we used to do. We almost never had issues with police officers. We were hassled, we were demeaned, we were subjugated to the type of force, and excessive authority where, you know, a police officer would put you down. They would line you up, they would disgrace you, they would try to make an example out of you in front of your friends. And that's the tact that some of these police officers who were supposed to act professionally, courteously, and respectfully towards everybody in the public. That's not what happened. That's not what happened to me. That's not what happens to many people in this country. Now, how does this relate? So, one way that marijuana relates to what's going on with the Black Lives Matters movement is the fact that we all have not been free. People who chose to smoke pot, go out, have a good time. There are states in this country now that have pot legal. You could walk down the street, smoke a joint. In New York City, you could walk down the street, smoke a joint, and nothing will happen to you. But 20 miles away on Long Island, if you walk down the street and smoke pot, you're going to get stopped by the cops, and they're going to harass you. So, you know, how does this connect with Black Lives Matters? It connects because of the similarity in between how marijuana enforcement has occurred, the fact that minorities have been impacted more by marijuana enforcement than the normal of the population. Hey, Brian. I'm just making a video talking about the Eisenhower Park rally and the counter rally that's going to be happening. And I bet it's going to get national attention because they have Ted Nugent coming. And this is Long Island. Long Island is very close to New York City, so I'm sure the news is going to be there. And it's going to be important. So I'm just saying why I personally might go there to support the counter protest as a representative of Long Island for marijuana legalization and the movement to legalize marijuana. So I'm basically saying that there's a connection between how we have been hassled and we have to rely on dealers in the black market to pick up marijuana. and you never know what you could get. You never know what it is. You never know if you're getting a good deal or not. So we really want it legalized. So I'm connecting how we've been impacted by police to how unjustly and unfairly people of color are interacted by with police officers. So what needs to happen? What does the Black Lives Matter movement want in Long Island with respect to our police officers? It's very simple. If there was a way that we could tell all the police officers, listen, you need to treat everybody, whether they're a criminal suspect, whether they're whatever they may have done, whatever you may have seen them done, they need to be treated with respect, courtesy, and professionalism. That if there was a way for us as a society to just tell police officers, listen, you don't need to sell your soul for your job. You could remain a good person, a respectful person, a courteous person, and still be a police officer in this day and age. The reason why, if we're able to do that without other policies of accountability, if there was a way we could ensure that to happen, we should do that. But it's very hard because, for example, when I was younger, and this is how marijuana relates to the Black Lives Matter movement. So when I was younger, I came back from high school, from college, to Oceanside, and with a friend from Hong Kong. He was a overseas student studying at Boston University, and I wanted to show him my town. I was proud of my town. I was proud of my friends. And me and my friends, we decided to meet up at a train station and spark a joint. So we were all standing around, hanging out. I introduced them to my friends, and we started smoking a joint. Lo and behold, what ended up happening was 5 cop cars come charging, Nassau County Police Department cop cars come charging down the block. They get out of their cars, they line us up, make us line up in a row, and they start questioning us. They start questioning my friend who didn't even smoke with us. He doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink. And they looked at him, he was Asian, right? They looked at him and they're like, oh, he's definitely high. This Long Island fucking cop, to my friend, was like, oh, he's definitely high. And I'm just like, and we all defended him. So we all started defending my friend. No, he doesn't smoke. And what ended up happening was when I started defending my friend, a female cop who, I'm not going to blow up her name. I mean, I should blow up her name because she's a real bitch. But I'm not gonna blow up her name. She basically came up to me and she's like, oh, so you're one of those. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean I'm one of those? And she said, you're a scumbag. Straight to my face. This is a Nassau County Police Department officer who called me at 18, 19 years old a scumbag. This is a figurehead of authority. Somebody who's supposed to be courteous, professional, and respectful, who was 20 years older than me, coming to me and calling me a scumbag. Now, just to describe to people how that feels, it impacted me for my whole life. When you have somebody in authority that you respect, that you think, is somebody who treats you on the level, should treat you on the level, call you a scumbag, that changes your life. So how does that connect to Black Lives Matters? So when minorities and people of color see their own get whatever they may have done, they could be criminals, they could have done something, but whatever they may have done, they see a police officer take their knee and put it on their neck and kill them in broad daylight. When they see that, it changes their view of police officers in this country. Anywhere, in a town, in a county, in a state, it changes their view of them. It makes enemies. And if the police officers want enemies, if they don't care, if that's what they want, which, they're holding a rally, Blue Lives Matters, in Eisenhower Park with a police officer who killed an unarmed black man who's going to be a speaker. If they want enemies, they're going to get enemies. But that's not how we, as a society, want our society to function. We don't want police officers and people to think that they're enemies of yours. But in my example, in my case, where I was called a scumbag by a Nassau County Police Department female officer in Oceanside. Why? Because I was defending me and my friends for a right of conscience to be able to smoke a joint in a parking lot, not bothering anybody, hanging out, one joint, 5 minutes, it's gone, we go on our way. It's not unreasonable. But what's unreasonable is a police officer calling a 18, 19-year-old guy who's defending his friends a scumbag. When you do that, you make an enemy out of a person. And that's what happened. So, and that connects to Black Lives Matters. So it's not about all cops are bad. It's not that all cops are bad. It's that you have a few choice, select people who either they've become jaded by their job, they've become cynical, they look at people and they've seen so many crimes and stuff like that, that they, their perspective is a little warped of humanity, that, of the whole of humanity and how their actions impact society. It's not all cops, it's bad cops. But the reason why all cops are liable is because of the brotherhood. Police officers defend their own at all costs, and that shouldn't happen. In any job, in any team, in any group, if you have somebody who is treating people wrong, who is acting in a bad manner, you need to call them out. No matter if you're a cop, no matter if you're a doctor, no matter if you're a firefighter, no matter if you're a politician, whether it's a person in your own party or a person on your police squad, if you see them treating the public disrespectfully, whether they be criminals or not, you need to call them out. Police officers need to be on a higher plane. If you're a police officer, you need to be better than the average of society. Doesn't mean all society has to be amazing and moral and ethical. But when you're a police officer, you need to be. Because if you're not, you're going to create a bad impression of your police department. You're going to make it more difficult for the good cops out there. And it's not right. It's just going to cause problems. So, what do I think? If there was a way to convince police officers, be good people. Don't sell your souls for your job. Don't become bad people. Don't act nasty to people. If there was a way to do that, and kumbaya everybody gets along, we should do that. But I don't think there's a way to do that because the sides are ingrained. They're entrenched, both sides. So, what does Black Lives Matter, and what do people like me want to see as reforms in the police department for accountability? One major reform that I'm for, that the Black Lives Matters groups are for, a lot of the legislators in Long Island are for. Hold up, I'm lighting a joint. Marijuana, oh, such a big deal. Internal affairs, and it does work, trust me. Well, apparently internal affairs didn't work so much with Derek Chauvin when he placed his knee on the neck of George Floyd and killed him on the street in broad daylight. Apparently that didn't work out so well. So there is an issue here. So what do Black Lives Matters supporters and what do people like me want out of police departments in this country, but more specifically in the Nassau County Police Department? What do we want? We want body cameras on every single police officer in this county. We want the interactions between the public and the police to be videotaped so that we as the public don't have to turn on our lives and our videos to record our interactions with police, because we will do that anyway. We have a legal right to do that. So instead of us videotaping police officers just need to have body cameras. They need to have a camera. So cheers, kid. I'm doing the same. Rock and roll. Yeah. So like police officers in Nassau County, all of them need to have body cameras. And the access to these videotapes needs to be as public information as possible. Why? Legally speaking, it's freedom of information. We have freedom to see things unless they are part of like investigations or whatnot. But we should be able to somehow have an independent agency or an independent agency or some kind of way for us to be able to see our interactions, our own interactions, but also other people's interactions with police officers. The public needs to see this. We need to be able for everybody to see each other, because if we can't see them, police officers and the public too think we could get away with things. But, you know, a lot of police officers, they're like, oh, you know, we don't have a camera, so we could get away with saying this to this person or saying that, or going a little bit more aggressive. So we don't want that. We need body cameras for police officers so that everybody knows you're being watched. If you're being watched, you're going to act a little bit differently. But it's not about acting. You know, at the end of the day, you know, we're not trying to get police officers to act a certain way. Police officers should just be able to be themselves. But what does that mean, being yourself? To me, that means being a good person, being respectful, being courteous, being professional, giving people the benefit of the doubt. They're suspected criminals. They're not. You could even see somebody doing a crime. But even if you see them doing a crime, they're not guilty until you bring them to court, until you do your investigation. They're not guilty. Even if somebody is acting wild, they're threatening and this and that. I've worked with people with intellectual disabilities upstate in Schenectady, and HIPAA protects them from me talking about their names or identities. But what I'm gonna say is, I worked with somebody that loved to go to carnivals. They had intellectual disabilities. They were, I'm not going to get into it, but, you know, they were a pretty hard case. But they love carnivals. Very happy person that could, at a split of a second, get a little bit rowdy, you know? And so we were at the carnival, and what ended up happening was he sat down and he refused to leave. He wasn't hurting anybody. He was spitting a little bit, but he refused to leave. What did the police officers do? We tried to get the police officers, we tried to get them to understand this is a person with intellectual disabilities. It's not his fault that he's acting this way. It's genetic. He was born this way. And what did they do? They literally manhandled him out of the carnival, which probably hurt him mentally and shocked him so much that, you know, it probably impacted his life. But not only did it impact his life, but it impacted my life and the life of my fellow workers that had to see police officers manhandle somebody that we cared about so dearly. So there are criminals out there, but they're not criminals until they're proven guilty. Even if they have committed crimes in the past and they were convicted, that doesn't mean that they didn't turn another cheek. That doesn't mean that they don't have mental health issues that create certain behaviors in them and propensities of behaviors that are not socially acceptable, not legally acceptable. Point is, you know, there has to be a way that police officers learn how to deal with the public. And most police officers do this pretty well. They're trained. They do this very well. But some police officers, it's a reality. They don't do it well, and they create a bad perception. And this is why we are having a civil unrest in Long Island and all over the country. So, well, I'm on Black Lives Matter side, but I have friends that are on Blue Lives Matter side. So there has to be a way that we come together and create policies that will mitigate these kinds of things from happening as often as they have and as publicized as they have been, because we live in a world where everything is videotaped. If you're a police officer, you're not going to get away with treating people disrespectfully ever, because we're going to videotape you. And we're going to blast it all over social media so that the public can judge whether or not they want police officers to act a certain way. If you're a police officer, you have to be better than other people. You have to stand to a moral code that is not, I'm going to treat him the way he treated me. Not the Hammurabi's code. Not an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a curse for a curse, a shove for a shove, a punch for a punch. No, if you're a police officer, if you don't want enemies, if you don't want a negative perception of your brothers and sisters and the people you work with and love, you are going to do something to hold the bad seeds in your department accountable. If you don't do that, you're going to make enemies. That's just how it is. And maybe you want enemies. How crazy is that in a society for some people to say, you know what, we don't give a fuck, we're fighting back. Police officers saying we're fighting back against Black Lives Matters? Like, how stupid can you be? It's ridiculous. So, you know, I don't know whether I'm going to attend this counter protest or not. I really want to, but I'm actually afraid. Like, what's going on in our country? We have the president sending federal troops, federal officers, a federal police force into different cities. How do I know that there are not going to be some federal troops with unmarked cars at this counter protest and at the protest, ready to whisk us away at the first infraction in a protest. How do I know that? So, I'm like, should I go? Should I not go? It's crazy. The fear that's being instilled. And now for Nassau County Police Department to allow, and for the county to allow somebody like Ted Nugent to, to come, somebody who called minorities, black people, mongrels, like, to allow this guy to stand with this guy, it's ridiculous. There are ways that we could do this in a peaceful manner where people come together, and that's what should happen. But judging by the actions of the Nassau County Police Department, how, they're implicitly supporting this Blue Lives Matter rally, and the fact that they developed Blue Lives Matter as a response to Black Lives Matter is just the most racist thing I've ever heard of in my life. And to know that, I understand the county executive, she is put in a very tough position because she has to, I do not believe Ted Nugent shouldn't be there. Why? You think it's all right for somebody like Ted Nugent to call people mongrels and to, say that he's got a machine gun or something for Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton? You think police officers in Nassau County should stand with somebody like that? It's pretty wild, It's like inflaming tensions. It's not making things better. What the police officers should have done, what the county should have done, is engaged. Oh, you mean he shouldn't be there? Oh, okay. I got you. But what they should have done is they should have engaged Black Lives Matters. Every single rally that occurred, every organization that started a rally, they should have somehow engaged them, had meetings with them that were publicized, get News 12, Newsday, CNN, whoever, to come in and say Long Island is having a gathering of the minds, and we are going to try to come up with something to make sure that both the public respects the police as much as possible, but they don't have to. The public doesn't really the police officers, they're the ones who are supposed to show respect and courtesy and professionalism to everybody. Regardless, the average, the swamp, the average, the base of society, who said they have to respect the police? Who said they have to respect doctors? I mean, obviously don't do anything outrageous, but even if you do something outrageous, you need to know that the police officers are going to treat you with respect, professionalism, and courtesy and then take you to court and bring you to justice if you did something truly wrong. But you have a right to defend yourself in the court of law. So this is like elementary school, but this is not how it's being played out, It's sort of like the police think they have a right for their officers to act whatever way they please towards anybody they want. And it's sort of like, just be good people. Just give people the benefit of the doubt. Don't use aggressive force on people. It's happened in Nassau County. It's happened here too. Don't say anything out of line to the public. That's not your job. It's not your job to do that. We pay you. The taxpayers pay you to do your job. So fucking do it. Professionally, respectfully, courteously. But that's not how it's being played out. And it's sad. So I don't know whether I'm going to be at this counter rally. I don't know if I'm going to go or not, but I figured I'd make this video because there is an intersection between legalization of marijuana movement, how we don't want cops harassing us. We want an accommodation for our lifestyle. This is a free country. Like, we're not killing anybody. We're exercising a personal choice, a choice of conscience to cancel. We're exercising a personal choice of conscience to smoke marijuana. We're not trying to push it on other people. I mean, there's studies being done. Marijuana helps with a lot of things. We're saying the truth. We're saying science. We're saying things that are being researched, and we're having a scientific dialogue. But there are some people who think, oh, we shouldn't be telling children this. We shouldn't be telling children these things, that marijuana has potential benefits and it helped your grandmother who had cancer. And, you know, like, people think that kids are stupid. People think that kids don't understand. You know, and that's partly the problem. We in America coddle our kids. We think they should be ignorant of everything and just live in a fairy dream world, when in reality, kids are very smart. And the earlier you soak them in with knowledge and good values, the better they come out. That's my opinion. So with respect to marijuana, there's an intersection here. And the reason why I made this video too is because I had a conversation with a legislator. I'm not going to name any names, but they contacted me and asked me to not, as behalf of my group, to not post on his personal page. And I basically tagged my group and said, I totally support you and this and that. And he ended up deleting the comment and private messaged me and sort of, you know, he contacted me and told me he doesn't want me to do that, but then he, you know, sort of backtracked and said, you know, I'm not telling you can't. But anyway, we just had a conversation, and the reason why I made this video is because I just want to make it clear that my group that I started, Long Island for Marijuana Legalization, I mean, I speak not on behalf of everybody in my group that I made, that I created, but I speak for myself, and I just want peace, just like anybody else. But it seems like there are forces out there that do want conflict. They do want, you know, they do want things to be conflicting because they're entrenched in their positions. But I don't want that. I don't want conflict. But I'm on the side of Black Lives Matters because it's a no-brainer. Black lives matter. They matter. They made that. It's like a copyright. They made that first. They made Black Lives Matter first. And then the cops turned around and they did Blue Lives Matters. And then the racists and white supremacists in Nassau County and all over America are saying all lives matter. You know, like, these people who came up with these counter terms, it's like Black Lives Matter is the first one. They're the first ones who said it. And how could you not agree with them? You know, they do matter. And there's issues like, you know, I'm sure if white people have seen a cop, a white family has seen a cop, even if it was a criminal, place their knee on somebody's neck till they died, you know, and it was a white person, I mean, you would have the same exact reaction. And even if it was somebody that was close to you who might have had a mental health issue, you don't know where these people have been. You don't know what lives they've led, what led them to commit these crimes, alleged crimes. You don't know. So you don't do that to somebody. And so I side with the movement. I side with them. And and it is what it is. But anyway, I'm smoking. I'm gonna finish smoking. Brian, I'm so happy. Let me read what you wrote. I'm sorry I didn't read. I'm happy you actually. Let me see. People need to talk to everyone with the respect that they want to be treated. Completely agree with you, but at the same that's assumption holds, right? But don't you also agree that police officers need to be on a higher plane? That there are some people in this country that, for example, a doctor. If you're a doctor and you have a bad patient that, you know, they're being very unreasonable and they're not taking no for an answer, if you're a doctor, what are you going to do? You're going to fight fire with fire? No, you're gonna rationally try to get them calm, and then maybe get somebody else in. You know, it's not working with you, get another person in. These are strategies that you could employ to de-escalate situations. And these strategies need to be employed by our police departments at all times. Even like when I was working with intellectually disabled people, there are people who threw punches. There were people who did a whole bunch of different things. Spit, threw punches, hurt themselves. And for example, so internal affairs, but there also needs to be independent accountability, because internal affairs, it's sort of like, it's the brotherhood. They all got each other's back, you know? They all give each other the benefit of the doubt. You need an outside perspective in order to independently judge whether somebody's actions cross the line or not. That's what you need. If you don't have that, it's the brotherhood. They got their own. Think about the PBA. They protect their own like crazy. But you can't change that. You can't change that culture, so you need accountability. That's body cameras. That's strategies put into place. Like so. When I had what we were given in my line of work, working with people with intellectual disabilities, oftentimes aggressive, oftentimes did bad behaviors. We were given these pads, and it's to not hurt them and to not hurt us. And we were basically like 3-4 of us with these pads. If somebody got really out of line, we were just right there, and they were hitting, and we were just, all right, hit the pad, get your energy out, That's sort of like what needs to happen with police departments, It needs to be done in a very soft manner, because if they show themselves to do things intelligently, in a soft manner, but still just as effectively, soft power. If they do that, that will vibrate off into the community, into society, and people's actions will be changed. Like, it starts with the top. If the police officers act a certain way, the public will act a certain way. If the politicians act a certain way at the top, like Donald Trump being so disrespectful, the people are going to act that way. So it's about the example you set. And that's ultimately what would help a society, So the police, people look to the police. If they see the police being aggressive and talking smack about people and, acting in those kinds of ways, instead of just being good people, live and let live, be a good person, people are going to act that way. And if that's the society we want to live in, that's what we're going to get. But, better, less lethal takedown tactics. Exactly. Like, imagine they had these pads or something, or even plastic, like bulletproof guards, and they just use those, like have 2 of those in a police car, and anytime a pretty violent suspect or somebody, you still have your gun on you, but anytime a pretty violent suspect comes into the picture, you just have four of you with like these plastic bulletproof things, and you just go in and go in and circle and circle, and he's busting off, and then somebody else runs in, another police officer runs in, and while he's like suppressed with these plastic or pads or whatever, they quickly tie them up. You know, there's ways to do things that make it less lethal, but our police forces are becoming more militarized, and it's wrong. So we need to like really do a 180 from where we are now, because I'm afraid federal officers, like secret police in cities, I have a right to counter protest. And what if I go to the counter protest and step on the street? I'll get whisked into a car? That's not America. That's not America. You know? Spoken to you by a pothead. An immigrant pothead. You know? So yeah. So those are the reasons, a few things that I just had on my mind. The reason why I might go to the Eisenhower counter protest. And I'm pretty high. I'm very high. There's some good shit. My last video got like 800 views. It's because I shared it everywhere. So a lot of people viewed it. I'm actually very happy about that. So yeah, man. Yo, Brian, thanks for rocking out with me on here. You're the man. You know, and it sucks that we didn't have that cannabis rally in New York City. But soon enough, hopefully COVID doesn't come back to New York this fall and winter. I have a feeling it will, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, yo, peace out, man. Peace out, whoever's watching. Love you all. Rock and roll.